Good Monday, everyone. Welcome to GardenStateWeather.com and GardenStateWeather.blogspot.com, providing superior forecasting for the northern mid-Atlantic region 24 hours a day, bringing on your winter 2016. And today is the 4th of January already, 2016, and Arctic air is in place, but no snow just yet. Looking around the region this morning, it's a definite chill in the air. We've got temperatures in the teens across interior Pennsylvania, low to the mid-20s here. The Arctic front is now passed through central New Jersey and down towards Philadelphia this morning. We've got gusty northwesterly winds at about 15 to 20 miles an hour, gust up into the lower 20s, some mid and upper 20s here around the New York City metropolitan area. And temperatures are struggling this morning from interior sections in the low to the mid-20s and 27 degrees or so, 29 in the city and down towards Philadelphia. It's a cold day, and we've got wind chills again in the upper teens to low and mid-20s, and it's going to be a frigid day today with a mixture of cloud and sunshine across the forecast region this morning. And downwind the lakes here, we've got snow flurries, and there could be a few of these in the air this morning as it's showing up on Doppler. Maybe your area will see a flake or two. Other areas will not see much in the way of snow at all, but the cold and gusty northwesterly winds will be in for today. And the cold air, frigid air, is moving through the metropolitan area this morning. We've got some lake effect snow advisories up near Rochester this morning, and also into portions of western New York, downwind Lake Ontario here, and Lake Erie as well. Along the coast here, we've got small craft advisories in effect until Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. for all of the coastal waters here in the South Shore and East Ends of Long Island, the North Shore and South Shore of Long Island Sound, and Connecticut as well, and down the Jersey Shore into the back bays of the Delaware. Cold morning before sunrise today. Again, temperatures are falling off now. They are still in the teens across interior sections this morning of Pennsylvania, and the low to the mid-20s just about everywhere else excepting the city, which is now beginning to fall off as well. Current wind gusts this morning in the teens to low and mid-20s, and those winds are going to continue to freshen up throughout the rest of today. And you're going to have to bundle up this morning and most of today on your way out the door, because with these winds, it's making the temperatures feel like they're in the teens to the single digits in interior portions of Pennsylvania this morning, but generally in the teens. That's what it feels like, the teens to the low 20s everywhere else with these gusty winds. On the aviational weather deck today, we have VFR conditions in place, scattered to broken clouds, coverage between 4,000 and 5,000 feet, near 3,000 feet for an early portion this morning, mainly at Allentown area. North to northwest winds increasing to 15 knots, gust up to 25 knots. The highest gust should occur this afternoon. Some flurries should be around, however, no effects are expected. Tonight, VFR with stratocumulus at around 5,000 feet dissipating. Northerly winds at 15 knots, gust up to 25 knots, diminishing some late tonight. The outlook Tuesday through Thursday night, VFR conditions under high pressure, northwest winds becoming more westerly and eventually southwesterly by Thursday with wind speeds at less than 10 knots. Friday, clouds will increase during the morning and rain is expected by the afternoon. Some MVFR and IFR possible, and moderate confidence in that right now. Models are all over the place with this. Now, right now, we've got 29 at Newark for the temperature, dew point 12, humidity 49%, wind out of the northwest at 17, gusting to 23, visibility better than 10 miles, the wind chill at 17, broken ceilings at 4,500, VFR conditions in place. Right now, outside of Philadelphia, we're in VFR, temperature 30, dew point 10, that's bone dry, relative humidity 43%, the wind is northwest at 13, visibility is better than 10, a few clouds around between 4 and 5,000, the wind chill at 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and basically VFR conditions in place. Morning pass satellite this morning shows the striations with the stratocumulus cloud decks rolling in on the northwesterly flow off the Great Lakes. Water vapor channel shows lots of dry and sinking air, but also shows a mid-level disturbance off the Great Lakes moving to the north and east, and that's touching off some flurries this morning. Downwind of the lakes here, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and most of this will be to our south as the cold air pours in. And there could be just some isolated snow flurries over the hills of northwestern New Jersey, scattered about for a minute or two here and there. Northern Hemisphere water vapor channel and fronts this morning shows a lot of action here in the Pacific jet stream here as these storm systems come on shore south of the Aleutian Islands and Alaska, plowing into the western United States coastline with one storm after another. Got an upper level low here spinning over the Baja of Southern California here. Got more storm systems off to the west coast and of the Pacific here, and they'll be piling into the shorelines here over the next 24 to 48 hours. High pressure ridge here. And of course, downstream from this, cold Arctic high pressure building in south of Hudson's Bay, Canada, right into the eastern United States. But the depth of this will be limited, and it will also, with this active pattern here, will be pushing these storm systems rapidly to the east. And also, the cold air, which is over us now, will be lifting out with moderating temperatures by Wednesday. National forecasted charts from this afternoon right through Wednesday morning. Here's our Arctic front, high pressure building in south of Hudson's Bay. We know the cold air is here, but it's not going to stay. Here comes the storm systems into the western United States, as we mentioned on the visible, actually the water vapor channel satellite. And the temperatures are going to moderate by Wednesday as the high begins to build across the mid-Atlantic coast states with dry weather and seasonable temperatures around 40 degrees or so. They'll probably be climbing even a little bit more than that during the day on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But for this whole conglomeration shifts to the north and east, and then rain gets into the picture by later Friday afternoon. We'll get into that in a moment. Here we are by Wednesday with the high pressure moderating across the eastern United States and storm system after storm system going through the western United States into the mountains. We've got rain, snow, just a mess here going on in the western United States, and also the east will be high and dry. The storm systems will continue to pull through the central and northern part of the country as we head into the week. And by the time we get to later Thursday and Friday, cold air will be wedging down the eastern slopes of the Appalachian Mountains here as this storm system in the plains heads up towards the Great Lakes, and another system here in the Gulf tried to get up along the eastern coastline. And by the time we get to Friday, it looks like rain is going to be overspreading the region. It could start out as a wintry mix across the hills of northwest Jersey, but this cold air damming situation won't hold. So the main core of the warming is occurring here across the Great Lakes area, bringing in a surge of warm air. And of course, we have two systems here. One is the main primary low heading up towards the Great Lakes, and the second is a coastal low developing along the Delaware coastal Jersey shore here, moving to the north and east, spreading its rain shield across the forecast region. Now the front gets stalled out a little bit by Saturday. There could be a few more waves of low pressure along this, and it's indicated that this weekend's forecast is going to be a little bit more complicated than earlier thought. The cold air will not be locked in place, but there is increasing chances of precipitation around the region throughout the weekend. Forecasted charts from the GFS as the storm systems plow into the western United States. They'll continue to do so, pull into the plains, and then eventually the Great Lakes. The reason why we're not having any of this cold air damming signature showing up for very long periods of time is because we don't really show a strong negative NAO or Arctic ice oscillation yet. It is going negative, it is negative, but there's not a sufficient amount of blocking, so the storm systems are very progressive in nature, and hence the Pacific jet is having much more of a concern here in our pattern rather than just the merging of the merging and phasing of the two streams, the subtropical jet in the split flow pattern and the polar and Arctic jet. So when the rain gets here, it starts out possibly as a little bit of ice or freezing rain or sleet across the interior, and then it goes over to rain, and the rain will be around in the region as the low pressure area moves towards the coastline on Saturday morning. The primary low is still getting up towards the Great Lakes and eventually into the St. Lawrence River Valley. We still have more activity in the southern jet here in the along the Gulf Coast, and this will try to head up in our direction again later in the weekend, early part of next week. The GFS and for most part the ensemble forecast and the European model guidance still not quite sure on the timing of any of these disturbances, so it's an uncertain period going ahead as we head into the early part of next week. The storm system on last night's run was a little bit further to the north. Now the GFS is a southern skirter here. But the European model guidance and the ensemble model guidance shows that the potential for another storm around here late in the weekend, early part of next week is still in play. Take a look at some of the model guidance. Now this is the ensemble model guidance, 850 millibar. That is about 5,000 foot temperatures and mean sea level pressure. Here's the Arctic air in place. This Here's our next system moving into the Great Lakes region by the weekend. And basically, here's another disturbance in the southern branch here. And what the European model guidance wants to do is bring this second batch of rain up the New Jersey coastline here by Sunday night and Monday. And you notice the advancement of the cold temperatures here in the blues at 850 millibars. The Arctic air really back here through central and southern Canada, the northern tier of the United States, the northern plains here. But the merging between these two is probably going to exit, so there will be chances of rain rather than snow around here. The snow would be for interior sections of New England, where they've been getting much and more each time one of these systems passes through, so the ski resorts are celebrating. And then the difference between the ensemble members of the European and the GFS are quite stark. The European model guidance suggesting that the cold Arctic air will continue to move in through the forecast period by the middle and ending part of late next week. The GFS is not the same. GFS also has the rainstorm here along the east coast off of the Jersey, Long Island coastal waters by Sunday night and Monday, but notice that it hangs back the colder air further to the north and west, and this is the ensemble forecast 500 millibar pattern here. As we move forward in time, it does show the Arctic air building in, but not as quite as substantial nor as far as in depth as the European model guidance is showing. We like to use the Canadian model guidance as we go forward. Now, the Canadian model guidance ensemble shows our storm here exiting on Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening out over the Atlantic. Cold air damming situation in place, and it keeps the storm deflected to the south and east. That would be for this weekend. And colder air, slightly cooler air is building in now. Here's another storm here in the southern plains. The southeastern United States along the southern branch here is another one forming here off the Baja of California as we head into Sunday morning. Cold air in place across southeastern Canada. It brings this storm up the east coast and just slightly to the east of the coastline here by Sunday night and Monday morning as the cold air is beginning to pull in. So it's a rain situation for most people except perhaps the interior here if there's any moisture on the backside of this wrapping around. The cold air plume comes in. These are the 500 millibar ensemble heights across the forecast region for the early part of next week. So Arctic air, it looks like it's going to return to the forecast region for the middle and later part of next week. Storm potential still in question. Timing of these storms still in question. Precipitation type for the first two events probably mainly rain, and then there could be a coastal storm that gets in here sometime during the middle part of next week, and we'll just have to watch these models in this split flow pattern because none of them are handling it very well. Forecasted temperatures through the week remaining in the upper 20s this afternoon from Parsippany north and west, where it looks like the northwesterly winds and the cold air advection will be at its greatest. Temperatures in the city around 31, 34 in Philadelphia. This is below normal for this time of the year, but not by much. Temperatures moderate slightly by Tuesday afternoon. Temperatures around freezing in the city, 33 or so in Philadelphia. Upper 20s to lower 30s over the hills of northwest Jersey, the Poconos, southeastern New York, and interior Connecticut. And by the time we get to By the time we get to Wednesday afternoon, temperatures getting back up above the 40-degree mark in Philadelphia, 45 in the city, even warmer than that on Long Island and interior southern Connecticut as well. And a warm pattern continues relative to normal for this time of the year, 43 in the city on Thursday and 44 in Philadelphia metro area. Temperatures again hovering into the lower 40s around Philadelphia, the upper 40s in Philadelphia, lower to mid 50s in the New York City metropolitan area on Friday as the rain comes in. Temperatures by Saturday getting into the low to the mid 40s across the region, upper 40s to lower 50s in the I-95 corridor. These are the latest teleconnections from the European and GFS model guidance. The Arctic oscillation is in a negative phase now. Continue to go forecast at negative through the middle part of the month. The GFS is very similar. It tanks it even further by the 13th. The NAO is slightly negative now. It's expected to wander in the upper regions of the negativity through the middle part of the month on both the European and the GFS model guidance. We have our positive ridge in the western United States and up through western Canada. It's showing up in the European model guidance for the PNA in both regions here on the European and the GFS model ensemble guidance. The EPO is at negative right now, and the variations on both European and GFS model guidance continues to show this. So there's going to be quite a lot of uncertainty with regards to the storm systems and how they're going to interact with each other as they move up and over the forecast region over the next 2 weeks. So for everything live, it's GardenStateWeather.com, GardenStateWeather.blogspot.com, Twitter, Facebook, and Google+. I'm forecaster Robert Smith. Be safe and dry, and of course warm out there today. We'll be back in video form during tomorrow morning.